Hello everyone. This is Harsha Chen, Assistant Professor, Department of Civil Engineering, Government Engineering College, Hassan. So today, let's discuss about Building Materials and Construction 18 CV 34. That is session 2 of module 1, that is Building Materials. So preservation of stonework. The decay of building stones of inferior is to some extent prevented if they are properly preserved. For this purpose, the preservatives are applied on stone surfaces. An ideal preservative has the following properties. It does not allow moisture to penetrate the stone surface. It does not develop objectionable color. It hardens sufficiently in order to resist the atmospheric agents. It is easily penetrated in stone surface. It is economical. It is non-corrosive and harmless. It remains effective for a long time after drying. Its application on stone surface is easy. The choice of preservative depends on chemical composition and location of structure. Following are the preservatives which are commonly adopted to preserve the stone. Under that first one, coal tar. If coal tar is applied on stone surface, it preserves stone, but the color of coal tar produces objectionable appearance, and surface coated with coal tar absorbs heat of the sun. Hence, this preservative is not generally adopted because it spoils the color of the stone. Second one is linseed oil. This preservative may be used either as raw linseed oil or boiled linseed oil. The raw linseed oil does not disturb the original shade of stone, but it requires frequent renewal, usually once in a year. The boiled linseed oil lasts for a longer period, but it makes the stone surface dark. Third one, paint. An application of paint on stone surface serves as a preservative. The paint changes the original color of the stone. It is applied under pressure if deep penetration is required. Fourth one, paraffin. This preservative may be used alone or it may be dissolved in naphtha and then applied on stone surface. It changes the original color of the stone. Fifth one, solution of alum and soap. The alum and soft soap are taken in proportion of about 0.75 N and 0.5 N respectively, and they are dissolved in a liter of water. This solution, when applied on stone surface, it acts as preservative. Sixth one, solution of baryta. A solution of barium hydroxide, when applied on stone surface, acts as a preservative. This is used when the decay of stone is mainly due to the calcium sulfate. The barium sulfate is insoluble and it is at least affected by atmospheric agents. Now let's try to understand about bricks. Bricks are obtained by molding clay in rectangular blocks of uniform size and then by drying and bringing these blocks. As bricks are of uniform size, they can be properly arranged, and further, as they are light in weight, no need of any lifting equipments for them. The bricks do not require any dressing, and the art of laying bricks is simple, so that it can be carried out with the help of unskilled laborers. Thus, at places where stones are not easily available, and if plenty of clay is available, we go for manufacturing the bricks. Thus, bricks replace the stones. Now, coming to the classification of brick earth. First type, loamy, mild, or sandy clay. This type of earth consists of considerable amount of free silica in addition to alumina. The presence of sand helps in preserving cracking, shrinkage, and warping of bricks. The addition of lime in such clay helps to fuse sand and thereby increase the hardness of bricks. Second one, marls, chalky, or calcareous clay. This clay consists of considerable amount of chalk in addition to alumina and silica. Such clay generally makes good bricks, but to avoid undesirable effects of excess of lime, the sand is sometimes added to such clay. Third one, plastic, strong, or pure clay. This clay consists of alumina and silica, which is sometimes referred as strong or fat clay. The raw bricks will crack, shrink, and warp during drying. If pure clay alone is used making of bricks, such clay is corrected by the addition of sand and ash. The sand prevents shrinkage and ash provides lime to act as flux. Now let's move on to the manufacturing of bricks. Following are the considerations which govern the selection of brick field for manufacturing of bricks. It should be linked up with communicating roads so that the materials can be conveyed easily. It should be suited or situated on a plain ground. It should be selected in such a way that the earth required for manufacturing of bricks is readily and easily available nearby. You should offer all the facilities to the workers employed in the manufacturing process. In the process of manufacturing bricks, the following 4 distinct operations are involved: preparation of clay, molding, drying, and burning. Coming to the first one, preparation of clay. The clay of bricks is prepared in the following order. First one, unsoiling. The top layer of the soil, about 200 mm in depth, is taken out and thrown away. The clay in topsoil is full of impurities and hence is to be rejected for the purpose of preparing bricks. Next is digging. The clay is then dug out from the ground. It is spread out on the level ground and just a little deeper than the general level of ground. The height of heaps of clay is about 600 to 1200 mm. Next step is cleaning. The clay as obtained in the process of digging should be cleaned of stones, pebbles, vegetable matter, etc. If these particles are in excess, the clay is to be washed and screened. Such a process naturally will prove to be troublesome and expensive. The lumps of clay should be converted into powder form in the earth crushing roller. Next step is weathering. The clay is made loose and any ingredient to be added to it is spread out at its top. The blending indicates intimate or harmonious mixing. It is carried out by taking small portion of clay every time and turning the mixture up and down in the vertical direction. The blending makes clay fit for the next stage of tempering. The next step is tempering. In the process of tempering, the clay is brought to a proper degree of hardness and it is made fit for the next operation of molding. The water in required quantity is added to clay, and while mass is kneaded or pressed around the feet of men or cattle. The tempering should be done exhaustively to obtain homogeneous mass of clay of uniform character. Next stage in manufacturing of brick is molding. The clay which is prepared as above is then sent for the next operation of molding. Following are the two ways of molding. First one, hand molding. In case of hand molding, the bricks are molded by hand, that is manually. It is adopted where manpower is cheap and readily available for the manufacturing process of bricks on small scale. The molds are rectangular boxes which are opened at both top and bottom. They may be of wood or steel. A typical wooden mold is shown in figure. It should be prepared from well-seasoned wood. The longer sides are kept slightly projecting to serve as handles. The strips of brass or steel are sometimes fixed on the edge of the wooden molds to make them more durable. A typical steel mold is prepared from the combination of steel plates and channels. It may even be prepared from steel angles and plates. The thickness of steel mold is generally 6 mm. They are used for manufacturing bricks on large scale. The steel molds are more durable than wooden molds and they turn out bricks of uniform size. The bricks shrink during drying and burning, hence the molds are made larger than size of fully burnt bricks. The molds are therefore made longer by about 8 to 12% in all directions. The bricks prepared by hand molding are of two types. Ground molded bricks. The ground is first made level and fine sand is sprinkled over it. The mold is dipped in water and placed over the ground. The lump of tempered clay is taken and it is dashed into the mold. The clay is pressed or forced into the mold in such a way that it fills all the corners of the mold. The extra or surplus clay is removed either by wooden strike or metal strike or framed with wire. A strike is a piece of wood or metal with sharp edge. It is to be dipped in water every time. The mold is then lifted up and the raw brick are left on the ground. The mold is dipped in water and it is placed just near the previous brick to prepare another brick. The process is repeated till the ground is covered with raw bricks, as you can observe in the picture. A brick mold can mold 750 bricks per day with working period of 8 hours. When such bricks become sufficiently dry, they are carried and placed in a drying sheds. Bricks prepared by dipping the mold in water every time are known as slop molded bricks. The fine sand or ash may be sprinkled on the inside surface of mold instead of dipping it in water. Such bricks are known as sand molded bricks and they have sharp and straight edges. The second type of molding is table molded bricks. The process of molding these bricks is just similar as above, but in this case, the molder stands near a table of size about 2 meter by 1 meter. The clay mold, water pots, stock board, strikes, and pallet boards are placed on this table. The bricks are molded on the table and sent for further process of drying. However, efficiency of molder decreases gradually because of standing at same place for long duration. The cost of brick molding also increases when table molding is adopted. Coming to the second type of molding, that is machine molding. The molding may also be achieved by machine. It proves to be economical when bricks in huge quantity are to be manufactured at the same spot in a short time. It is also helpful for molding hard and strong clay. These machines are broadly classified into two categories. Plastic clay machines. Such machines contain a rectangular opening of size equal to length and width of a brick. The puck clay is placed on the machine, and as it comes out through the opening, it is cut into strips by wires fixed in frames. The arrangement is made in such a way that strips of thickness equal to that of bricks are obtained. As the bricks are cut by wire, they are called wire cut bricks. Next type of machine is dry clay machines. In these machines, the strong clay is first converted into powder form. A small quantity of water is then added to form a stiff paste. Such paste is placed in mold and pressed by machine to form a hard and well-shaped bricks. These bricks are known as the pressed bricks, and they do not practically require drying. They can be sent directly to the process of burning. The wire-cut bricks or pressed bricks have regular shape, sharp edges, and corners. They have smooth external surfaces. They are heavier, stronger, and exhibit uniform, dense texture than ordinary hand-molded bricks. So the next process in the manufacturing of bricks is drying. The damp brick, if burnt, are likely to be cracked and distorted. Hence, the molded bricks are dried before they are taken into next step of operation, that is burning. For drying, the bricks are arranged longitudinally in stacks of width equal to 2 bricks. A stack may contain 8 to 10 tiers. The bricks are arranged along and across the stacks in alternate layers. All bricks are placed on edge. The bricks are allowed to dry till they become hard with moisture content of about 2% or so. So even the stacking of the bricks is shown in the picture. Artificial burning. The bricks are generally dried by natural process, but when bricks are to be rapidly dried on a large scale, the artificial drying may be adopted. In such case, the molded bricks are allowed to pass through dryers which are in the form of tunnels or hot channels or flows. Such dryers are heated with the help of special furnaces or by the hot flue gases. The tunnel dryers are more economical compared to the hot floor dryers. Circulation of air. The bricks in stack should be arranged in such a way that sufficient air space is left between them for circulation of air. Drying yard. For the drying purpose, special drying yard should be prepared. It should be slightly on a higher level and it is desirable to cover it with sand. Such an arrangement would prevent the accumulation of rainwater. Period of drying. The time required by molding bricks to dry depends on prevailing weather conditions. Usually it takes about 3 to 10 days for bricks to become dry. Screens. It is to be seen that bricks are not directly exposed to the wind or sun for drying. Suitable screens, if necessary, may be provided to avoid such situations. So the next step in manufacturing of bricks is burning. This is a very important operation in the manufacturing process of bricks. It imparts hardness and strength to the bricks and makes them dense and durable. The bricks should be burnt properly. If bricks are overburnt, they will be brittle and hence break easily. If they are underburnt, they will be soft and hence cannot carry loads. When the temperature of dull red heat about 650 degrees centigrade is attained, the organic matter contained in the brick is oxidized, and also the water of crystallization is driven away. But heating of brick is done beyond this limit for the following purpose. If the bricks are cooled after attaining the temperature of about 650 degrees centigrade, the bricks formed will absorb moisture from the air and gets rehydrated. The reactions between the mineral constituents of clay are achieved at high temperature, and these reactions are necessary to give new properties such as strength, hardness, less moisture absorption, etc. to the bricks. When the temperature of about 1100 degrees centigrade is reached, the particles of two important constituents of brick clay minerals, namely alumina and sand, binds themselves together, resulting in the increase of strength of density of bricks. Further heating is not desirable, and if the temperature is raised beyond 1100 degrees centigrade, a great amount of fusible glassy mass is formed and the bricks are said to be vitrified. The bricks begin to lose their shape beyond a certain limit of vitrification. The burning of bricks is done either in clamps, as you can see in the picture on the left hand bottom side, or kilns, as you can see in the picture on right hand side bottom. The clamps are temporary structures and they are adapted to manufacture bricks in small quantity to serve a local demand or a specific purpose. The kilns are permanent structures and they are adapted to manufacture bricks on a larger scale. So with this, we end this session over here.